every glucose spike triggers two really important things that have to do with skin. Number one, every glucose spike makes you age. So glucose, when it runs into other molecules in your body, it damages the other molecule, and that's called glycation. So glucose glycates other molecules. And glycation is actually just like cooking. So glucose will cook another molecule. When you put a chicken in the oven and it goes from pink to brown, it's been glycated. It's the same process. And inside of our body, from the moment we're born, we start glycating. The more glucose spikes we have, the faster we glycate. The more glucose spikes we have, the faster we cook, basically. You're cooking on the inside. And when you're fully cooked, you die. Okay? This glycation process shows on your skin as wrinkles, and it also damages your organs slowly. So more glucose spikes equals more glycation. Then more glucose spikes equals more inflammation. That also very prominently shows on your skin. Maybe it's rosacea, psoriasis, acne, all of these different symptoms. And so this to me is really interesting because when I learned about this stuff, I realized, okay, a lot of the times when we have these symptoms, like if we have cravings, for example, or if we have acne, we might feel bad about them. We might feel ashamed. We might want to ignore them, cover them up, medicate them, when actually these are just your body going like, hey, there's some glucose problems within. And if you fix the glucose issue, these symptoms go away. They're messages. Your body cannot speak to you truly, but it's trying to with all of these signals. And that shift was like mind-blowing to me.
Because then you can love it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I love you. You're talking to me.
You have
my back hurts. Yeah.
And then
my
take
back
action.
hurts.
Yeah.
I should go on a walk. Or my shoulder hurts. My dad needs to love me more.
Totally. But we've lost that connection, We've lost the fact that when you feel a certain way or something happens in your body, that's a message. Your body is super wise. I mean, it knows way more than your brain. So I think people need to learn to listen to it. Yeah. And then try to understand what it's saying. Very often it's saying there are glucose spikes happening within. So fixing the glucose thing makes the cravings go away, makes the acne go away. And then it's like a whole new world where your body is now your friend. You're taking care of it. It's taking care of you. And like, that's happiness.
If you think about it, like our bodies are the only thing that's like been there for us our whole life.
Yeah.
Like from birth, like this is the same body. Obviously cells are completely turned over. Always been there.
Yes.
And always been there.
And your body wants you to live.
Yes.
Wants you to be healthy and happy. And so another thing it does when there are too many glucose spikes is that it tries to protect you against these high glucose levels. So what does it do when your glucose spikes? It takes the glucose and stores it in compartments to avoid, increasing inflammation and glycation too much. And one of the main places your body puts this extra glucose to protect you is in your fat cells. Putting on weight, putting on fat is your body protecting you against these glucose spikes. So once you see it that way, you should be like, oh, thanks, body. Like, thanks for protecting me. That cookie was super good. I appreciate that you tried to keep my glucose levels a bit low so it doesn't, hurt me too much. It's just a completely new paradigm. And I want people to know this. I want people to understand how their bodies work and not blindly follow like the next diet or the next thing. Like we all deserve this information. And I believe this is intuition that we actually used to have, that we've lost touch with. And I want to help people get that back.
Yes. Just knowing your work, that it's not about not eating the carbs, not eating the sweets, et cetera. It's really, whether it's food combining, it's when you're eating it, it's what you're eating it with, like the combining, it's a host of other ways in which you can regulate the spike. Can we start to get into that?
Absolutely. So what's wonderful is that there are very gentle things that you can do that don't require you to change what you're eating, but just really simple, easy, kind things you can do on a daily basis that help you avoid the spikes without giving up any of the foods you love. When I first learned about glucose spikes, obviously one way to go is you can just say, okay, I'm never going to eat starches and sugars again. But that's not how I want to live my life. Like, I love pasta, I love chocolate cake, I'm not giving those up. So I had to find in the scientific studies these gentle, kind ways of still eating all the stuff I love while reducing the glucose spikes. So I think the most interesting one to start with is eating your food in the right order. So when you're faced with a meal, if you eat the components of that meal in a specific order, you can reduce the spike of the meal by up to 75% without changing the quantity or what you're eating. So the correct order is veggies first, proteins and fats second, and starches and sugars last. And so when you talk about, this collective intuition that I think we've lost, if you look culturally, actually a lot of countries follow this order, but we just don't do it anymore. In France, we used to start all meals with curated, like raw vegetables. In Italy, it's antipasti. In the Middle East, they start their meals with, a bunch of herbs eaten by the bunch. So it's just a way to show people that there are these very simple pieces of information and knowledge that we can bring back into our lives and avoid the spikes. That's an easy one, because you don't have to change anything about what you're eating, but then your cravings disappear, your skin gets better, your fertility improves. It's a much better life.
Wow.
I think with food combining then, do you know what's happening in the body? Because is there a time between them? Does it have to be like vegetables, 15 minutes, this, 15 minutes, this, 15 minutes? Is there time involved?
You don't have to wait at all. So the way that it works is that vegetables first is very, very powerful because vegetables contain fiber. And when fiber is the first thing that lands in your stomach and then in your upper intestine, fiber does this magical Transformers vibe thing, and it deploys itself onto the walls of your upper intestine and makes this protective mesh, and it just stays there. It's like a shield. And then any food that comes down afterwards will not be absorbed as much and as quickly into your bloodstream. So fiber first is really important because then you give fiber the opportunity to do this super magic move. That's why it works. Proteins and fats second. The reason that works as well and contributes to a lower glucose spike is because proteins and fats slow down the speed at which food moves from stomach to intestine. So you're creating an environment in which glucose from the starches and sugars afterwards is coming down more slowly into your intestine and is absorbed less thanks to this shield. So you're eating the exact same meal, still the same pleasure, you're enjoying the meal with your friends, whatever. It doesn't change anything for your conscious self, but on the inside, you're helping your body so much not deal with side effects of big glucose spikes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Microdose by Almost 30.
We hope you enjoyed waking up.
As always, we encourage you to take what resonates and leave the rest. If you enjoyed this trip, tune into the full episode on the Almost 30 podcast. All episode information can be found in the show notes.
Make sure to subscribe, and if this becomes a part of your morning routine, be sure to share it with a friend. We have new inspiring doses Monday through Friday. Follow us on Instagram at Morning Microdose, and follow Almost 30 at Almost 30 Podcast.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the vortex.